Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. My name is Faith. Thank you so much for being here. I haven't posted in a couple weeks now because I had my baby boy, Jessie. We are just so happy and just soaking in the newborn stage. I'm assuming you came here because you're interested in hearing about an unmedicated delivery, which I did with both Jessie and my first Summer. She is 2.5 years old. So I'm going to be talking all about how my labor and delivery went. And yeah, it was completely unmedicated, except for I did need antibiotics because I was positive for group B strep. He's a little bit of a tutor, so he's probably just trying to push out a fart right now. I do plan to do a video on how I've been doing postpartum this time. This is a completely different experience than what I had with Summer, so I kind of want to go into that more in detail. But for today's video, I'm just going to be telling you guys the birth story, how everything went at the hospital, and like the entire situation. So let's go ahead and get into it. Give this video a thumbs up and comment down below. That really helps my channel. But yeah, let's get into the birth story. Okay, so I'm gonna start all the way back like mid-January. I lost my mucus plug. I kind of had a feeling I was gonna go early. I went a week early with Summer. And yeah, so I lost my mucus plug. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just this like gunk that sits up there and is a barrier between either the uterus or the placenta and your vagina or something. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if that's completely correct, but yeah, I lost my mucus plug. It basically means that your cervix is starting to open and dilate. And sure enough, when I went into the doctor for my next appointment, this was at 35 or 36 weeks, I was already 2 centimeters dilated and 50% effaced. So effacement is just the thinning of the cervix. It needs to be 100% like thinned out of the way for you to deliver. So I was halfway there and already 2 centimeters dilated out of 10. So I kind of knew he was going to come early. The following week, I went into the doctor again. I was 4 centimeters dilated and like 70% effaced. That was at 37 weeks. And then a few days later, I definitely started noticing more contractions. They were mild, but I knew that they weren't labor contractions. The nice thing about doing this a second time around is you remember what they feel like. So there really wasn't confusion as to what was real labor contractions and what weren't. I remember with Summer, I was like, is this it? Is this not it? I don't know. Should I go into the hospital? Should I not? This time I really knew. So I started having actual real contractions Friday, January 28th in the morning, 7 a.m. I started noting it in my phone. I just noted them in the notes app, like the times, and they were getting stronger and stronger, and they were 5 minutes apart. So I called my doctor right at 8 o'clock, and because they knew how far along I already was, they're like, yes, you definitely need to go into the hospital. And plus, I had tested positive for group B strep. That's that bacteria that they test you for at around 36 weeks. It's something fairly common. Anyone at any given time can test positive for it. It's like a regular old bacteria that we all have in our gut that sometimes you have more of rather than less of. And it can cause your baby to get meningitis as they're coming out, if they ingest any of it. So they like to put you on antibiotics for at least 4 hours before delivering. So my doctor was like, yes, get into the hospital so that you can get your antibiotics in before the baby comes. So that was at 8 o'clock I called, and I had my husband come home from work and my mom come over to watch Summer. We got in the car, drove to the hospital, thankfully made it there. In the weeks leading up, I was a little bit nervous that I wasn't even gonna make it to the hospital because my delivery with Summer was so quick. Also, I'll link that birth story down below as well if you wanna hear my experience with that one. But yeah, thankfully got to the hospital. Contractions weren't totally bad. Something I remembered from Summer is the contractions really, for me at least, were not the most terrible part. Like I could handle those. So that's one of the reasons why I just declined the epidural, because I can handle it. I'll get into when it got worse, but yeah, the contractions to me just felt like extremely, extremely strong period cramps, or like bowel movement cramps. That's really what it feels like to me. So anyways, we get there at, I want to say like 9 o'clock, get to the hospital at 9 o'clock. They checked us right in. The nice thing about this hospital versus the one that I had to go to with Summer, I don't know if it's because it just wasn't as busy this day or what, but we got to go right into the labor and delivery room. Whereas when I went to the hospital with Summer, we were first put into like a check room, and they had to check me, make sure I was actually in labor, and then they moved me to a labor and delivery room. So this was nice. We got put right into our labor and delivery room, and I just sat there and labored uninterrupted. They just kind of let me do my thing. I remembered from Summer that I really liked sitting on a medicine ball going through the contractions, so I requested that. I requested like a damp cloth in case I got hot to put on my head, and then some ice just to drink and chew on. So those were really the only 3 things that assisted me in my labor. They did put an IV in my hand to do the antibiotic for the group B strep. He's such a little tutor. I should say, when I got to the hospital, I believe I was at a 5 or a 6. So they left me to labor for a little bit while that first round of penicillin got in, and they wanted to do a second round of penicillin before I started pushing or doing anything like that. My water hadn't broken. It never broke with Summer. They had to break it. So I was kind of assuming that that was going to happen again. So they weren't going to break my water until the 4 hours had passed of the first dose, and they gave me a second dose of penicillin. And that penicillin, man, it hurts. I don't know why. I don't know if that's everyone's experience, but especially the second dose, it was worse than my contractions. By the time they gave me my second dose of penicillin, I was already at an 8 centimeters dilated. I was going through really serious contractions and like it hurt, but I was doing okay. The penicillin is what like put me over the edge. As soon as they started putting that second dose in, I lost it, started screaming, crying. I feel bad for Nick. He was probably like so nervous. But yeah, I don't know what happened. I think that the IV fluid that was supposed to mix in with the penicillin wasn't mixing in. So I was just getting straight cold penicillin to my hand. It was really painful. But thankfully that passed. And after they did the second dose, they broke my water so that I could get on with this, because I was already at like 8 centimeters, like I said. So they broke my water, and the second they broke my water, the contractions skyrocketed in pain. It was, from what I remember, more painful than with Summer, and I think it's just because of how fast he was coming out. It was a lot faster than with Summer. With Summer, I pushed for about 45 minutes, and when they broke my water, he came about 15 minutes later. I only pushed for 15 minutes, but it was excruciating. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm just telling you the honest story. So I'm sorry. I'm realizing as I'm saying this, there's probably a lot of pregnant moms watching this, and I don't want to scare you. Overall, I had a really, really good experience. I'm just being 100% honest. But at the end of the day, I'm so glad I did it unmedicated, because I didn't have an epidural. Things went faster. I was able to get up and walk around right after. I've heard that also your milk comes in a little bit faster when you don't have the epidural. I'm not sure if that's true, but I just really liked being able to just do it unmedicated, get it done, power through it, and then just be free. Like, you don't have to have a catheter, you don't have to have anything like that. He was born at 2:15 in the afternoon. So basically I was at the hospital for 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, like 5 hours, and then had him. And I will say the second time around, at least for me, because I know how special having a child is now, it just was so much more joy-filled. because I could really understand how amazing and beautiful this life is. I think with Summer, I was so overwhelmed with the idea of becoming a mom and all the responsibilities and having no clue what to do that I was more stressed than excited. And this time around, it was just an instant love connection. Also, if you're new here, we did not find out the gender, so that was a big surprise and excitement of the day because we knew we were going to finally be able to find out if it was a boy or a girl. And we're so happy that we get to experience both. That is, in a nutshell, my birth story. I do have questions from you guys on Instagram, so I'm gonna pull those up on my phone and go through and answer some of those questions now. I have the questions, so let me just answer any that I feel like I didn't answer in the birth story. Okay, first question is, did you have trouble getting him to latch? So no, thankfully, right after I gave birth, they cleaned him up. Nick cut the cord. Nick actually got to hold him first because they had to stitch me up a lot. I can't believe I forgot that part. I'm sorry. It's been a couple weeks and I have mom brain right now, but I did have a 2nd-degree tear, and I had a tear with Summer as well. So they had to stitch me up for quite a while. So Nick held him for a while, and I was a little bit worried that we didn't do skin to skin right away, but it was totally fine. The second he got on my chest, I got him to latch right away. And breastfeeding this time around has just been so much easier because I already have the skills from doing it with Summer. Breastfeeding is very, very difficult the first time. It's really hard. So I had worked with a lactation consultant and taken breastfeeding classes when I had Summer, and I think all of that experience really helped me this time. So he latched right away, and we've really had no trouble with breastfeeding. I did meet with a lactation consultant at the hospital, and she tweaked a couple things for me that I had forgotten, and since then we've been great. Next question is, how did you know it was real labor? I kind of answered this, but the reason I knew it was real labor is because the contractions got stronger and stronger. So when, like in the days prior to the day I gave birth, I was having mild contractions, but they stayed mild. And then after about an hour, they kind of faded off. Whereas the morning that I knew I was in labor, they were getting stronger and stronger, and they weren't going away even after an hour. So that's how I knew. I answered, how was this birth different from your first and the experience overall? Just basically, I was more excited after giving birth and more just ready to like be a mom of a newborn. So it was just less stressful in general. What was your favorite moment of this birth? Definitely hearing Nick call out that it was a boy. That was one of the things we wanted, was that when he was born, Nick would either say it's a boy or a girl. Nick really wanted a boy. Of course, I feel like most men would love to have a son at some point. And so he was just like overjoyed. His jaw dropped too, because he thought for sure it was going to be another girl. I think we both did. So that was just really exciting to hear it's a boy, because we really thought Summer was going to be a boy, and that shocked us. We love having Summer. Like, we love that we have a girl and now a boy. But it's fun to have both, you know? Was your labor a lot faster this time, and did you get an epidural? So I kind of answered this. It wasn't, the pushing part was faster. I was in the hospital, like laboring for about the same amount of time, but the pushing was 15 minutes instead of 45, and I did not get an epidural. A lot of these questions are the same, like, did you have an unmedicated birth? Which one was easier, second or first? I already answered this. What did you do throughout pregnancy to focus on excitement over anxiety? I talked about this a lot on Instagram. I was having a lot of nerves and anxiety about how the transition would be with having a toddler and then bringing a newborn home, especially because my only experience with a newborn was Summer, and she was not an easy newborn. If you guys followed me for a while, you might remember she had a milk and soy protein intolerance. She was just a really sad, cranky baby, crying all the time. So I was kind of nervous, expecting that to be the case again, and just thinking, how am I going to do this while also having a toddler to take care of? And I also didn't want her to be upset by a lot of crying, or stuff like that. Thankfully, Jessie has been just the easiest newborn ever. I'm so thankful. I hope it stays that way. I've told like all my family, I'm still just like waiting for him to wake up and start being cranky like Summer was. Like I kind of have PTSD from it. Honestly, it was pretty traumatic. And they're all like, don't worry. So I was nervous about that, but I just would pray for that anxiety to be replaced with excitement. And so it was just like a mindset thing. I can't say I was perfect at it. I definitely still had anxiety leading up to it. But what I can say is in the end, there was nothing for me to be anxious about. The transition has been so good. I'm in such a better headspace than I was when I had Summer. And everything has just been great. We did a really good job, I think, of preparing Summer for this. And maybe I'll make a video on how we navigated the transition from 1 to 2. If you guys want to see that, leave a comment down below. But I think we did a really good job of talking to her and preparing her for having a baby here. And so she was just super excited. I put up a reel on Instagram of her meeting him for the first time, and it's just precious. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, go check it out on my Reels tab, and you can see her reaction to meeting her brother for the first time. One question was, how did we choose the name Jessie? I think I was looking up biblical names, and I just really liked how Jessie Drew sound. Jessie means God's gift, and Jesse was the father of King David. So I really liked the meaning behind it, and I also just liked, I liked that it was a more rare name, like that you don't hear as often these days, but it's not a super out there crazy name. So I liked how it sounded with our last name, and yeah, that's what we went with. We hadn't fully decided on names until literally the week I gave birth. So that was stressful. I think those are all the questions I didn't answer in the actual birth story. If you have any more questions, leave them down below in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. I kind of wanted to just tell you my story off the cuff. I probably should have taken notes, and I'm sure there's things I forgot, but I really just wanted to sit down and chat with you guys and sort of get back into the groove of filming. I have a bunch of videos I do want to film, including my postpartum experience these last couple weeks, and give you also some like postpartum tips and products that I've been loving. So that will probably be my next video. And then if you guys want to see that transition from 1 to 2 video, just let me know. But I will have other newborn videos coming out very soon. I'm gonna pick Jessie up so you guys can see him. Oh, I should have mentioned he was born 7 pounds, 13 ounces. And that was at 2 weeks early. So I'm kind of glad he came early, because he could have been like well over 8 pounds, closer to 9. And he was 20 inches long. He was about the same size as Summer. She was only 2 ounces more and a ½ inch shorter. So she definitely looked chunkier. Like when I look at pictures of her, she looks more round and plump, and he's just more like little. I don't know. Hi. Can you say hi? So this is Jessie Nicholas Drew, middle name after my husband. And he's probably ready to eat now. This little onesie or zip up footie pajama is from Target. I'll link all of the zip up footie pajamas I got from him. They're all from Target, and they're all my favorite of what I have. They actually fit him. Everything else has just been way too big, and they're just so cute. So, hi buddy. Want to say hi? Say hi? There he is. Say hi. I know. Got a little something coming up. Yeah. That is it though, guys. I love you all so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.